All right, sweet. So we are back with Ciekiller. Our last video had so many views, and you were telling me all about your success in locals. I'd love to hear more about your new deck and any thoughts you had and all the above.
Oh yeah, sure. After testing some stuff in locals with like the old deck, which is what you see there on the video, the old deck was basically testing just with different cards. Like mainly the test cards were the Banished Zoros, and then those Gene Barts, and that one cost event. So it was of course it was just testing this out, seeing how it goes, and then testing a little bit with the ratios with Diablo Jambe and the 10 drop Luffy. And yeah, so after testing it out, I decided to go into the new build, which is kind of like basically what my old one was. My original build was supposed to be, but I was just kind of playing around with that one. So if you change to the new build, there it is. This is the new ratios I've been running for all my locals. So far I've only done two locals, and for the two locals I've been four matches each. I was 100%. I'm so far winning both, so 100% win rate so far with the build. So what I did here with this new build, let's see here, second. With this new build, I actually went back to, of course, Zorojuro, because I learned over time with some practice and testing with some of the against like Rob Lucci's and certain removal decks like Gecko Moria or in this case Zorojuro. Zorojuro has a little bit more higher survivability now that Great Eruption's gone. So against the Gecko Moria matchup, it's pretty solid. They would have to use additional cards just to get rid of that to ruin my ramp, but which is fine to me because that's like one to two cards out of their hand. And then versus the Rob Lucci deck on their two, like because I always like to go first with this deck. I swing first, of course, drop the Zorojuro, and on the following turn, Rob Lucci has four Dawn, and he can swing, right? So he swings, he can minus two cards from his trash. The interesting thing is like if he doesn't counter out with the six against my 6K swing, he'll only have two cards in the trash, right? And if you look at the Rob Lucci card, if I'm correct, from the black deck or black cards, I'm pretty sure Rob Lucci requires to remove three cards from trash in order to KO something on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely
Um,
three. Sorry, my
yeah,
sim is a little
oh,
slow, but
okay, that's
yeah.
fine. No, that's okay. Yeah, and because of that, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? So, on their two Dawn turn, unless they play a searcher, then sure, yeah, then they have like all the trash in their field, right? But the idea behind it was by making them use a four cost Rob Lucci, if they really chose to, that's just extra, like a card out of their hand, stuff out of their discard pile at the very beginning of the game, and it's just one card that like I know that's like okay, there's like one less, yeah, one less card in their hand. Sure, but anyway, and then following, of course, the strat still stays the same. So if the Zorajuro survives in most matchups against the black decks, or all the matchups except the black decks, if it actually does survive, then the following turn at the five Dawn, depending on how the course of the match is going, right? I'll swing that one either for a 7K swing because I'll add three Dawn, or wait, three Dawn. No, sorry, I'll add two Dawn to make it a 6K swing. It swings from my five goes to six, and since I use two Dawn, I'll have four Dawn left over, so I can play Bond Clay if I have it in hand to gain one additional Dawn, and then with my leader swing 7K. Um, that would be my game plan. If there's no Mister Two, then I honestly will just swing depending on like what's in my hand. If I have Baccarat, then I'll swing three Dawn with Zorjiro to swing a nice 7K, and then play swing 6K with lead, and then drop Baccarat for a nice 2K 2K counter. Because on an opponent's attack, you buff your leader by 2K during the battle, which is nice because you can trash all your high card cost cards. But anyway, the things that were winning me most in these matches is I actually changed out the ratios from that 10 drop Luffy from 3 to 2 and increased the Diablo Jambe from 2 to 3. So a lot of my matches, surprisingly enough, I won a good chunk of them with Diablo Jambe. So, Diablo Jambe is not only a card that people forget about for like, can't activate blockers, but what's nice though is like sometimes you force them in these weird positions where like whether you have Diablo Jambe or not, when you're swinging like big swings with like Captain Kid, and dragons, and maybe even Whitebeards on the board, at some point they're gonna want to like counter out, right? Because on their next turn they don't want to. In some cases, whatever the opponent's thinking, maybe they want to use that blocker as a swinger, or maybe they're just trying their best to hold, board control or something, because there's instances where they think to themselves like, I'm gonna swing 9k, right? And then they're like, you know what? I'll take that one, or I'm gonna counter out, right? And then you drop another dragon, and then you swing, right? And then they have to use the blocker, and then and then and then you have Diablo Jambe for like something else. I don't know. I mean, one of the instances is like an opponent forgot his I had Diablo Jambe, or ran it at all, or just forgot all about the card, and he just let his last life go, and he had like 3 blockers on the board, and I just Diablo Jambe with leader and instant kill. Pretty simple with a 15k swing. With Luffy, it's pretty rough to like defend against that, because that's what 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's like 5 cards under the assumption they're all 2k counters, right? And by the end of the game, right? I think in some cases, depending on the leader matchup, like having 5 2Ks in your hand is pretty difficult to have in most matchups, I would say, under the assumption you're constantly swinging. But my battle strategy, what's been working out for me, is as playing as Red Purple Luffy, I try to defend as much as I can, right? Or not all the time, but sometimes I'll gamble, like, oh, I really want to see this card. I have like 2 life left. I'll take this hit, even though I could counter it, right? To try to find like maybe the card I need. But the way I've been winning is like I just swing at life. I don't even bother with board control. And I get a lot of questions at locals is like, oh, how come you don't bother going for board control? And I tell them it's it doesn't help being like a 3 life leader, right? And as a red purple Luffy with this sort of build being all top end heavy, I can only drop like one thing at a time. So I'm only just swinging at most 1 or 2 hits per round on my turn. But those hits are like super big and heavy to where, they take it, or they're going to have to dip 3 or 4 cards out of their hand, right? And also when you're wasting a lot of time with all these, especially with like black decks and red purple Luffy decks or red purple law decks being so strong right now, all those special summons it's really hard for a red purple Luffy to like fight against special summon leaders, because it's just like, not only are we at a 3 life disadvantage versus like most of the leaders being 5 now, with like Gecko Moria as being kind of like more of the top 2 played, with red purple law being at 4 life, it's you lose out on card advantage, right? Because at 3, like that 2 extra card advantage from life, and then having that extra cushion of being able to like let their characters swing, you just take it, you clear my board's empty, right? And that 2 life cushion just makes it so much easier to bait out attacks to like swing at characters. But that's where the deck comes into play, where ramping is so important that by getting to your 7 plus dawn, specifically 8, just so you can start like constantly using your leader ability. Given any situation, you drop your Whitebeards, your kids, your dragons, your 10 drop Luffy, your shanks, depending on your matchup. And it's just so hard, because especially with the dragons being on the board, it's like, man, when you're getting swung at for 9 and 8k, you just really can't counter out. I mean, you can, but you just lose out on like so many cards. But also, so my matchup's like on like one of the first locals is I played against like a black yellow Luffy player, really good player by the way. And my strat for that compared to other leaders is other leaders would take their time building board to like kind of get ready to try to slow down the black yellow Luffy from getting to zeros to start popping off. I just go straight to life. Like, it doesn't matter. The strat still stands. I rush them down as fast as possible to 0 life, even if they have 0, to hopefully maybe get them down before they get to their 8-10 dawn, so they can't use those Gecko Morias, right? And trying to get rid of those counters. But the main win condition for this strategy is literally if I can get a 10 drop Luffy in my hand and a Diablo Jambe, or just the Diablo Jambe. So what people are not aware of, and it's kind of like just like a little thing, because we're just so used to like Whitebeards and Captain Kids being like, plus 2k till the end of start of your next turn, right? if you look at the black yellow Luffy, if your life is at 0, you may add up to 2 5 cost characters from your hand or trash your life face up. Okay, actually, it's not that. Pull up any of the 2 cost brothers. So, for example, here we go. So, like, the combos for, like, Black Yellow Luffy. So, you're popping off your 3 brothers, right? So, when you do the trash character, you bring the one back from life. But the most important thing is if you read it there, it says, if you, reveal the top card of your life, if it's the 5 cost Luffy, you play it. If you play it, up to one of your leaders gets 2k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. That's the key term there, right? Opponent's next turn. Or end of your opponent's turn, sorry, to be more clear. So, like I said, everyone's used to like the Whitebeard and the Captain Kid and other buffing characters if there's any others that are to the end of start of your next turn. This is the end of your opponent's turn. So what's overpowered here is like I get them down to 0 as fast as possible. I let them play all their sabos, all their stuff, right? And then the leader goes up to 9k buff, right? If I have 10 cost Luffy and a Diablo Jambe, I drop the 10 cost Luffy. And by doing the ability, it skips to my next turn, which therefore brings back the Black Yellow Luffy's power buff back down to 5,000. That's
Oh.
that's a pretty like strong, you know, ability there because I basically have like almost 100% win rate against Black Yellow Luffy as long as I have that one Luffy or Diablo Jambe. But mainly it's I have to have the 2 combos or in some cases just the Diablo Jambe because, I can outpower or like cuz like maybe they don't have that much counter in the hand. You know what I mean?
I mean, especially because you're swinging so much large numbers at them. Like, if you're swinging 6 constantly, they're countering 2k. They'll probably
Yeah.
run out, so.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah, if they're unless they because like right, like the idea is like if by rushing them down to 0 life before they even get to 10 dawn, at some point they have to start countering because they need I mean, they don't necessarily have to be at 10 to do the Gecko Moria and all those weird combos. They can still do it at 8, right? Because they can just do it the manual way, right? If they have all the pieces they need in their hands, right? Drop down those sabos in the trash. They probably already have Luffy's and aces in the trash from countering, right?
Mm.
And then they could just do it the manual way of just adding 2 dawn, and then with their last, I don't know, 4 6 dawn left, they play their respective cards to buff up their leader. But in the process of doing that, right, like doing it from their hand versus doing it from Gecko Moria, and that's why the strat's so important, is the Gecko Moria you pull it from trash, right? But when you force them at the 6 to 8 dawn to play those cards prematurely without the Gecko Moria, that's 2 cards out of their hand, and then yeah, basically 2 cards out of their hand, right? And not including if they counter out throughout the match. So hopefully, they're down to like a lower amount of cards, right? Um, and then that's where like if the Sabo and stuff goes into play, and you have your win condition of 10 drop Luffy and Dialga Jambe. The following turn you swing a 15k swing with 10 drop Luffy when they're at 5k, and like I said, right, 2 4 6 8 10. That's 5 cards, so that brings them up to 15. They need a 6 card. 6 cards with a one. That's their 6 card 1k 2k, right? So out of the 6 cards in their hand, all of them have to be counter, and 5 of them have to be 2ks. So in Black Yellow Luffy's case, it is pretty high chance that they could have 5 2ks because they have like the Hioris, Flampe. There you go. Yeah, draw a card, take a card from top or bottom, and then draw a card. Yeah. So there's those and Hioris, but in some cases when they're like desperate, right, they have to play those cards to look for the pieces they need to start doing their combos. So yeah, so essentially that's like my strategy against Black Yellow Luffy's. That 10 drop with the Dialga Jambe is pretty much an instant kill. I've never lost to a Black Yellow Luffy yet. And then into the, Gecko Moria Rob Lucci matchup, it's really just the same thing, right? I mean, pretty much all the matchups. Like the reason why I have 3 Diablo Jambes and those 10 drop 2 of the 10 drops is actually just mostly for the Black Yellow matchup. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Diablo Jambe is great for all the other matchups, but those 2 card combinations as a whole is an instant kill every single time against Black Yellow Luffy. Especially if they have no idea, because like right, like no one really plays Red Purple Luffy. No one even plays this 10 drop, so no one is like aware of the tech of skipping my turn or going to my next turn and resetting their power because they'll feel safe at like 9k leader, right?
Mm.
But when this thing drops and then you drop on them, right? Hey, your power reset because it's my new turn. They start freaking out like, oh crap, he's right. I have 0 life because I did my combo to go to 9k, and I have 4 cards in hand, and then Diablo Jambe for 15k. It's like game over, and it's like, it's so. Oh man, it's so. But yeah. So this deck profile is what I went up with. The changes they did was basically took out, like I said, Gene Bart's for Zoros, took out
You took out one
those
Whitebeard.
1 cost events. Yeah. I took out the 1 cost events for the 0 cost 3k counters, and then I put back queens just to add for more draw power essentially. So yeah, the old list, what I did was I took out, of course, the Zoro Juros, all the Gene Barts. So the Gene Barts basically were replaced for queens. All those 3 cost events, 1 cost events, I replaced it with 2 of the 0 cost, and then that third card with the combination of those 2 Zoros, I added the and then minus 1 Whitebeard, I added the 4 Zoro Juros, and then minusing the 1 Luffy, I added the Diablo Jambe, and then that's how I ended up coming up to the recent build, and I'll probably just take this to regionals.
You
Pretty
talked
solid.
about the black yellow Luffy and the black, the Gecko Moria Lucci. Can you talk about more about how you beat Moria Lucci and some other meta topics?
Yeah, so I think with the Lucci, one of the interesting things about playing against the Lucci matchup in my recent local tournament on Friday was that my opponent he basically like I think he could have won for sure, but the most dangerous thing about playing that deck is knowing when to is really knowing when to mill, right? Because like when you're using that Rob Lucci ability to trash 2 cards to do the -1, I watched my opponent like trash all their top end. He only found 1 Stussy or Stussy or however you pronounce her name, the 9 cost.
Stussy, yeah.
Yeah, that was like the only top end he found, and then occasionally bringing out some like Kakus. Like he was basically essentially going to win the next turn if I could not find the 10 drop Luffy to do like 5 swings at his board, or not board, sorry, at his life. Because on my board I had a 7 drop kid, 9 drop, 8 drop dragon, and I think I had the 9 drop Whitebeard as well.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty mean, dude. So like he had like a few blockers, right? And to basically finish the game, I just he killed my kid. So when I had the 10 drop Luffy available, I just swung 9k with Dragon, swung 10k with Newgate, uh, dropped the 10 drop, added the whole Dawn combo, swung 7k with Leader, did the whole new turn, swung another 10k, and then swung a 12k. Like, I mean, how do you even how do you beat all those like heavy ass swings? You know what I mean?
I, I, I
Um,
I'm assuming though you probably want to swing with leader before playing the 10 drop. That way they
no, you
know.
swing after playing the 10 drop
Oh.
because the idea is because you're at 0 Dawn,
Uh-huh.
you can play the 10 drop because you play the 10 drop, use leader ability to gain 1 Dawn, then character Luffy to gain another Dawn that's active,
Oh.
and then you add that active Dawn for the 7k swing. Because if you swing first, then it's just a 6k versus a
That's
7.
the difference between amateurs and pro RP.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so yeah, against the Rob Lucci matchup, like it's so janky because the only real cards that they need that they can use to pull things out of their graveyard, right, is like the Rebecca, and like it's not helpful when the Rebecca can only pull up to like a 7 cost character.
Yeah.
So most of the time, it's always Rob Lucci's, right, the 4 cost to like clear your board or uh 2k counters, um, or maybe Spandam or Searchers, whatever. But most of the time, it's always Rob Lucci. And yeah, he just all that milling he did, it's not fun. He milled out like everything, and he couldn't find I think he found a stage like late game. Yeah, the deck is like really powerful, but sometimes it's so inconsistent. If your luck is just totally against you, and for that specific event, it was like way against him. He never played a Gecko Moria, and he never played a 4 drop Rob Lucci. You
Oh,
know, but I have beat other Rob Lucci's in their peak though. Not saying that I got lucky or anything. That specific night I did, but uh, Gecko Moria, I did play that the other day, and my matchup with that wasn't too bad either, because Great Eruption's gone. I was able to play Zoro Juro successfully without it getting blasted off the board. because the combo previously was Great Eruption -2 to the Zoroark. Add Gecko Moria at his 4 Dawn. He adds his 1 Dawn, swings, does his 2 Dawn ability, discards Absalom, summons Absalom, kills Zoroark, and he swung 6k to my face, right?
Yeah.
But with Great Eruption gone, like it's really difficult for them to do that on the very beginning. So it gives me the extra push to play that Zoroark to gain that Dawn advantage so early in the matchup. And against the Gecko Morias, one of the strats too, also compared to previous strategies I've implemented versus now, because now I just swing the face. I don't like no matter what. There's almost zero chances I will ever swing at like board. I but I'll talk about the only time I would swing at board. It's only against one specific leader. But yeah, I almost zero chances you'll ever see me swing at board. So he's kept dropping Peronas, right? And luckily the Perona, I always had 5 cards or 6 cards or whatever it was in my hand to discard one. So I discard the cards I don't need. So cards I don't need in most matchups is Shanks. Shanks is a difficult card to set up for. You have to be extremely safe to set up for, like any 10 drop in the game, right? But the only reason I would ever drop multiple 10 drops is I have to have Captain Kid on the board. So I can always -1 Dawn, gain it back with leader ability to have it available for Radical Beam. But in most instances, I always discard Shanks. And I'll talk about Shanks again in a little bit. But against the Gecko Moria, I mean, like, I just like let him do his Peronas, and he swings little 1Ks here and there. I block all of them or take a couple hits here. But then once I got to my 7 and 8 Dawn turn, which didn't take long because of Zorjuro and the Mr. Twos, I just dropped a dragon after dragon after dragon. And like the Gecko Moria like player, like, because he put all of his 2 Peronas on the board and 2 of them were, I think he didn't find the other 2. That told me information that he had no 2k counters in his hand. He had basically a whole dead hand of non-counters because he didn't counter out of anything. I even did a 7k swing and he didn't counter out, right? And because 2 of those Peronas were on the field and I never swung at it, he never got it back. He can't get it from the trash with his
Dr. Hogback.
Yeah, Dr. Hogback. He couldn't get it back to get a 2k. So like I just left it on the board, and that's like one of the benefits of being able to just not touch the board in terms of the Gecko Moria matchup, because whatever they have on the board, I'm sorry, bro, that's gonna stay there forever unless you keep summoning cards to like discard them into the trash. And yeah, he lost out on a lot of power because he couldn't 2k counter. He lost his few Absaloms. Well, the Absalom didn't really help actually. It was more the Peronas that really killed him the game, and me not swinging into it. Yeah, but the dragons just kept going and going, and like even when he did like the Gecko Morias, what makes this deck different from previous builds is by having like dragon, like I said, is one of the key components to this build. By having the option of rush like that, and with the deck being more heavy cost, which I mean it always was heavy cost, but being a heavy cost build deck, right? It's so hard for any of the black decks to be able to KO any of your things now because there's no Great Eruption to like help you mill to find the cards you hopefully could find. And interestingly enough, most of the builds now they very rarely run Ice Age anymore because everyone feels so confident with their Gecko Moria into everyone knows the combo, right? Everyone probably could say it with heart, Gecko Moria into your 4-drop Rebecca. Rebecca drops in like back in the day 3-drop Hina, and then you drop Helmeppo, and then KO something on the board with or well, back in the day it would be bottom deck, right? But it's the same thing we see all the time. Or in this case, it's now stage with 8-drop Gecko Moria, then you drop in the Spandam to bring out a Kaku. You bring out the 2-cost Helmeppo, and then you bring out the Spandam to do the the 4-drop Rob Lucci. But before you do all that, my bad. Since it's kind of still new, you have to use Tempest Kick. Is it called Tempest Kick? What's that card?
Yeah,
the 1 cost.
Tempest Kick.
Yeah, Tempest Kick to draw a card -3. and your stage. You do all that prior, and then it's the same stuff. It's the same combos every time with Gecko Moria character card. And yeah, with an 8 cost card, 7 cost card, 9 cost card, 10 cost card in the red purple Luffy deck, it's pretty difficult. Considering that almost everyone decided for whatever reason to not use Ice Age anymore. Uh,
Oddly enough, my deck list I submitted recently has 3 Ice Age, and I have like this. I have a weird, interesting Moria deck I'd love to show you later. But yeah,
yeah.
no. Surprisingly, I don't. I think Moria feels better to me than Lucci does for that reason.
Oh,
But
I think, in my opinion, yes, Rob Lucci definitely has an easier time doing cost reduction against opponents to clear the board. The problem, though, is one second. The problem, though, is because of the fact that he's constantly milling, and then other Navy cards, right? Like, or not Navy, like your CP9 card, or CP0 or CP9. The Spandoms are trashing more cards, and then it's pretty rough because I mean you could just bottom deck all the good stuff, and CP9, CP0, they don't have anything to bring stuff back from the trash besides Rebecca, and it only goes up to a 3 to 7 cost for Rebecca pulling out like a black card or something.
no, absolutely. And
Versus Gecko Moria having what is it? Hogback is just pull a Thriller Bark, no cost or anything.
oh, it's great.
Is that
Yeah,
how it works? It just pulls out a Thriller Bark, no matter the cost.
I have to return 2 cards from my trash to the deck to be able
Oh,
to do it.
and it just pulls. Oh yeah, there's no cost requirement. You just pull out any Thriller Bark, and that's basically you can get anything you would need from the trash back to your hand. So like, oops, I got rid of the only Gecko Moria I saw all game. Let's just put out Hogback real quick, get the Gecko Moria, and be set. Versus Rob Lucci, my opponent lost all of his top end cards, and that he's out. There's nothing you can do.
But without getting too far of the tangent, I'd like to just circle back to your Luffy matchups. So
Yeah.
Lucci, you explained. Moria, just I think your non-swinging at characters is huge because as a Moria player, I want to get my Peronas KO'd so I can summon them back again.
Oh yeah,
So that seems great.
I leave them alone. I'm actually more happy that they do that because I can get rid of all my non-counters in hand, and I'll be cool with it. I mean, hopefully it's like not really good cards in my hand, but yeah, it's amazing because like now with that new strat, I've been just practicing or not practicing but testing, and it's working. Yeah, it's like all right, well, all your 2Ks on the board. That's cool.
What other matchups have you faced, and what about some of the other meta leaders? Would you say? For your
So far I've also played against Red Purple Law as a practice match. I never, surprisingly, at my locals, I haven't seen anyone play it. Maybe it's because like everyone doesn't want to play it because it's the same deck build essentially as the previous set 6. Set 7, I don't think much cards changed, just a very small minor few. And I think right now, you know how it is, everyone's just trying out new decks before they finally just revert back to like the good old red purple law or some shit.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, the red purple law matchup is pretty free unless they like they really pop off and are like finding like every rush killer kid, every Zoro if they even run it, every Reiju. Like it happens though. Like don't get me wrong, it like sometimes they just pop off so hard I can't do anything. But if they're just playing a normal game and they don't get the god hand, I mean it's pretty free because to do all the combos that they need to do and to properly play all the cards they need to maximize their Dawn. And me being a 6K leader, they don't have Dawn left over to play to swing at my leader.
That makes sense.
And with all my cards being super high cost minus the Mr. 2 being the only, well, not cost, but power, it takes, they need to put in resources in order to get rid of, dangerous cards off of my field. So the most dangerous card in this deck would be like at the very beginning of the matchup is that Zoro Juro. So they have the option and the choice to drop that raised max, which is such a good resource. And a lot of the times, it's very rare that I ever see them do it on a Zoro Juro. Because it's like, man, if they get rid of that, right? Like, what are they going to do when I start dropping, like, the kid? And then the dragon. Well, they can't do anything past kid. Like, the dragon's so hard to cost reduction. Because you need to use 2 of those guys. And Newgate, I mean, you basically need 2. No, Newgate needs 3, actually. While Dragon needs 2. cost reductions. And as far as I'm aware, I don't know if I've seen any RP laws use Eins in their deck. I think Ein would be a great card to play, but it's kind of difficult considering it's kind of difficult considering that Ein's like a 7 cost character. Yeah, that's the only time that like this deck would struggle. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any RP laws running Ein as a main power reduction to bottom deck anything on the board.
Yeah, it's hard because, like, you're expecting to face other RP laws. So if you play 6K character, it's just going to be bottom decked. But
Exactly.
against your leader, like, they play all this Dawn, save up for 7, they do it on your one character, dragon, and you summon another dragon. Or you
Yeah,
summon a
exactly.
kid.
Like, I mean, exactly. What do you do, right? Or and because I'm just constantly swinging at life, it's at some point the problem with RP Law is like their 2K counters are those Otamas, and what did they use? It's Otama, Sanjis, and I think that's it because like most people nowadays run 8 2Ks nowadays. We're gone from those old 12 2Ks from set 1 and 2 back down to 8. But anyway, you know, when you're constantly like swinging, like again to reiterate, swinging big hits at this leader. I mean, all of their cards are 1K counters. You know what I mean? And until they bring out their kid blocker, if you're swinging like nonstop, like 7Ks at his face or 6Ks, I mean, you're not. It's not going to take long to get rid of his 2K counters and his 1Ks. And then all of a sudden, and then when you finally get to your end game to start dropping like the big bodies, that gets even harder because it's like, holy shit, like I can't fucking protect against these 9K, 8K, 10K, 12K swings, you know, uh, with the lack of like stuff that they have in their deck.
Yeah, the fact that you can get the free Dawn for Radical Beam, the fact that you can have 2K to go to 8K, this RP law is not be like you're just
Yeah,
too high for
it's
it.
struggling. Oh, 100%. And God forbid I have a Captain Kid on the board with a dragon. Because if I have Captain Kid first and he survives and I drop dragon the following turn, I can actually swing 3 9Ks. Because you do add the 2 to leader, then so he's at 8K, right? You add 1 Dawn to Kid, you swing 9, and then he buffs up leader to 1K power till the next turn. So he already has 2 Dawn from dragon, that's already a 9K. And because you did the -1 cost, you add another Dawn, and you have 2 Dawn left over for Radical Beams. So like 3 9K swings is rough, man. I'm telling you, it's pretty crazy. Like the dragon on his like I said, the dragon. There's times where I kind of want to drop 4 in the deck, but the deck feels so tight. I don't even know where I would put it. I mean, I probably could take out like Shanks because I feel like Shanks has been so rare to use. Uh, but I'll tell you how I play against the green decks now. The green deck is something I didn't talk about the last matchup or our last video. So green deck, surprisingly, the hardest thing about playing against Jewelry Bonney. Now that is one of the most difficult decks I think everyone has a problem fighting against, unless you're uh, a black leader. It's just hard because when they're dropping like all these little. The hardest matchup I did once and I lost it was like the main opponent. He dropped like 2 of the 1 cost searchers. And then what made it really difficult is I can only kill 1 at a time, and he gets 3 cards by the time I kill both searchers. Because on the next turn, both of them search. That's 2 cards in their hand. And then the following, I kill 1. The following turn, he still has the 1 searcher. I have to kill it because if I don't, he's just gonna keep getting cards. So they just gain 3 cards, and then not including their draws. So like the Jewelry Pawnee is that's so hard when they can pull off like 2 searchers right off the gate as turn 2, and they just leave them there to get ready to do it. And then of course the fact that they can rest an opponent's leader or character, that makes it more difficult because as ramping with Zorojuro and Mr. 2, well Zorojuro specifically because he has to swing in order to do it. I have to just commit and just make him swing 6K, and my leader gets rested. Drop Mr. 2 to ramp, and then I just have to, you just have to make do with like the fact that you can only swing once per turn until you have at least more than 2 characters on the board. So Julie Bonney is by far the hardest matchup, but against the Julie Bonney matchup, which is what's different. If I play against another green matchup, like I don't know, what do people play now? Green yellow, Yamato. There's also the Perona. I've seen, and the
I'm just
green
hovering
purple
over
Dofi.
this because
Yeah, I
it's
was
just a
like,
suggestion, but
no,
definitely.
no, no, they didn't play it. I wanted to say Glurple, but I was like, wait, I don't even think people say that. But oh, like yeah. Anyway, that's where the Shanks comes in, right? So the Shanks is mainly set in the deck at 3 for discards if I really need to. But it's oh yeah, that's not the main reason. Sorry, let me rephrase it. The main reason is mostly for the yellow matchup and the green matchup. Because a lot of the green matchups now are playing the 8 cost kid, which is like that super tank
Mhm.
where you have to focus that stupid card in order to kill it. And if I have my 7 drop kid set up beforehand, because it's for green decks, it's already difficult to KO that specific character, my 7 cost purple kid. I drop the 10 drop Shanks and instant kill that 8 cost kid, the tank. It gets instant kill just like that. And then I swing with my kid for 8K, get my 1K counter buff for sorry, 1K power for Luffy for the next turn. If I'm playing Bonney, then sure, the leader gets arrested, whatever, fuck it. And then I gain 1 Dawn for my Radical Beam. And then now I have 3 cards on the board. And then the problem is, sadly, as much as I would like to swing with the 12K Shanks, I can't, because the priority is always to swing with that kid. Because if I don't swing with the kid, I don't get that 1K buff. And that 1K buff is like such a helpful thing. It's like every other character or leader needs at least attached to even consider swinging into the 7K body.
Mhm.
But yeah, Shanks is really helpful for the green decks for fighting against the 8 cost kid. Also helps for 10 cost Doflamingo. 10 cost Doflamingo that rests, stops all your characters from restanding. He's 10K power, so he drops it. Yeah, sure, none of your characters can restand, but you just drop the Shanks, and then that turn was basically obsolete, and you're +1 in I guess you can say not resources, but like board control, because he
Yeah.
just killed it. And yeah, you may not be able to swing, but he can't swing with that card either because it's dead. You know. Other things I've used the Shanks for was against your yellow matchups, you play 10 drop ace. Sadly, the 10 drop ace they can swing, so it's kind of it's like a fair trade, I guess, because he rushes me down.
Mhm.
But the 10 drop Shanks, at least by doing my 10 drop into the Captain Kid swing, into the leader swing, that's still one dangerous card off the board that I don't have to deal with, right? And I swing my 8K 7K into, it's probably going to be a Nell. It's
Mhm.
like the only, I'm not saying that the other decks are not viable, but it's the most viable of the yellow decks right now is the Enel leader. So that's the main reason for Shanks. In most other matchups, there's very rare occasions I might drop the Shanks, but most of the time it's just kind of there for all the other matchups. And also as 0 cost event fodder or Baccarat fodder for 2K 3K counter power.
Yeah, I guess the good thing about your matchup against green, even though like she can stop your early blockage, when you set up so many characters on the board and so many ability to KO their 8 drops, by the time they play their, because you're ramping so much faster, by the time they play their 9 drop, are you safe against their Zoro?
Well, that's the thing, right? So the cool thing about Zoro 2 is that's also why I have the Shanks there.
Mm.
It's because I know they run Zoro. Zoro's at 9K power. They drop that Zoro, I'm gonna drop that Shanks every single time, and the Zoro's gone. So I'm totally cool with the Zoro dropping too, because that's like such a big investment for them at the 9 cost Zoro drop, and then the 1K drop, 1K, sorry, 1 Dawn available to use Bonney ability to rest
Hmm.
something on the board. And that's fine because that means either the rest of the board's gonna swing, or no, they can't swing unless they're all like the 6Ks or the 7K blocker.
You mean
Basil Hawkins, is
six
he or
cost?
is he a 6?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, 6-7. Yeah. But anyway, specifically for Jewelry Bonnie too, is probably one of the only few decks as well that I'm actually working because the Jewelry Bonnie kind of works on board control. I well, I found that most the matchups when I did play against the Jewelry Bonnie, I did better by doing board control first before doing before versus just swinging at life nonstop. For some reason, seems to do better against that leader, and I think the only reason why is because I can only swing at most 1 swing per turn until I can get 3 characters on the board or more.
Mm.
Then then they have to pick and choose what's best.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be like with Bonney. It's gonna be one of those matches where you're just ruling it out.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's probably like honestly my hardest matchup is the Jewelry Bonnie. That is like my for sure. Like it is definitely the hardest matchup for me is playing against that Jewelry Bonnie. Yeah, Jewelry Bonnie, and I also did try out again fought against what's Vegapunk. I
Mhm.
lost to that matchup every time. That matchup is so whack, dude. I hate it.
Oh,
There's
really?
nothing. Yeah, I can't do it. It's so hard. I've tried everything. Like it's just not easy. Cause like being able to activate their main to place a 5 cost, like already from the get go, right? Like on their, I drop my 3 drop Zoro, right? And he goes to his 4 drop turn. He just uses the 1 cost to drop the 5 cost Luffy, and instant kills my Zoro, and he draws a card. I'm like, oh my god. And then later down the line, he's scroll up some more. You passed it. It's like a little bit higher, right above that.
You said 5 cost Luffy this one?
Yeah, that's the one. Oh my god. Yeah, he just dropped that instant kill my Zoro, so ramps come, and then I had to play the Mister 2. But then by then the problem is like once they get to their 6th dawn, I mean like it's almost like playing freaking what's the name? Iceberg. Like,
Mm.
for 1 cost he can summon any 5 cost character on the board for free or into their life, which if it's in their life, it more than likely is a card that can be played when it's as a trigger. So now you have another like they have a buffer for like
Your big
life, right?
swings. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a buffer for the swings, and then it does a free summon on top of normal summons, and it's yeah I don't know, I just can't beat that deck, but luckily I don't think I will ever see that deck in a real tournament matchup because that deck completely gets destroyed by the black decks for removal. Because
Mm.
anything that goes on the board, as long as you just play board control for like the first beginning of the match, um, Vegapunk just runs out of slots because you just keep clearing his board and you just don't swing at his life because he only has 2 life, right?
Mm.
So over time, like after he keeps playing all these cards, and the fact he can't swing either, that's what makes it hard because you basically just play until he's out of cards. It's almost like the old school Rebecca. You
Mm.
play like that, just don't swing into their life. And at some point they're gonna run out of cards. And then by the time you have a full board, you just start swinging, and then he dies. And because there's a lot of, and on top of that, because there's also Reputable Law, right, who has easier board swarm than most decks because he can play a card, was it bottom deck a card, then play a special summon another card. Over time, he can board swarm the board and bottom deck like very important cards that Vegapunk can play.
Mm.
And at that point, you swing 6 times, and Vegapunk can only do so much, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't know. That deck's fine.
I think yeah, it's definitely the putting characters into the life and just free summons. Like, cause you want to bring them down low fast, but if they're just constantly getting free life, cause you're not swinging wide. For you to set up the wide board, they swing much faster. It's
Yeah,
definitely one of those. But I am surprised.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting that.
yeah. I can't beat it. It's so hard, man.
I have some leader questions. How do you feel
Yeah.
against Whitebeard?
Whitebeard, surprisingly, I don't do too bad. Well, let me phrase it. It is pretty hard considering he starts at 6 life.
Yeah.
I'm half of his life. I'm at 3. So I don't know. I haven't fought a Whitebeard since the new set has started,
Mm.
and I'm not actually sure what builds any of these Whitebeards are running. But something tells me they probably have 4 of those 8 cost dragons in there, and if that's the case, I think I'm pretty fucked, dude. Especially with those aces and those dragons. It's not, and then with his hell hand getting a bunch of counters. But I think with the resurgence of blue decks
Mm.
starting to come back in OP7 with not Doa, wow, Doflamingo and Boas,
Yeah.
those decks run Charlotte Pudding as a
Yeah.
standard. And I'm hoping that those decks will gatekeep Newgate, because Newgate has always been like a rough matchup. It's never been like a matchup where I would always it's super easy or super hard. It's just like a constant like even you just have to get lucky, I guess.
You're both just monsters at 6K. Summoning rush
Yeah,
minions, summoning pure diabolical.
yeah. The only difference is that I'm like swinging I'm ramping faster than he can. So hopefully, if I can board swarm with bigger bodies and swing heavy as like hell, right? He can't. He'll eventually can't counter out of everything, or he's gonna have to start countering out like some big cards. But the same applies to me too, because he can do the same thing to me.
Yeah, because he
Like
can just get a lot
because
of
he can.
cards.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like with all the counters he potentially has, he has Ace. He has Ace as an extra rush card and Dragon. And that's not easy. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how I'd do against it. I honestly think I'd probably have a hard time. I feel like Whitebeard would actually have more of a better chance against me than anything.
Hmm. You mentioned the leaders, but you want to talk about some of the blue matchups?
The blue matchups, surprisingly, so interesting enough, the history behind Doflamingo, the blue leader,
Hmm.
there used to be a friend at my well, not used to be. That makes it sound like he died or something. My friend at locals, used to play Blue Dofi. Well, he always played Blue Dofi back in like set 1 through 3, I think I'd say. And in the small times he would like practice match with that Blue Dofi deck, I'd probably say he's like the best Blue Dofi deck player or Blue Dofi player I know. It's hard because the special summons, like I said, like when you start dealing with like heavy like board swarm, it gets pretty difficult because like over time, when you're getting swung 5 6s, like that's 5 cards out of my hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or so interestingly enough, against the blue Dofi, I'm actually again with the dragons. I'm a mix of I'm doing a mix of hitting leader and then hitting cards on the board. So a lot of the times I will most of the time with the blue Dofi, I'll actually try to go for life first, of course. And then at some point, depending on what gets summoned on the board, I have to clear certain cards off the board because the way my friend plays, because he's the only one I really practice against. He'll swing 6s nonstop just to
Mm.
keep getting cards out of my hand. But at the same time, because I'm like rushing him down in life, he eventually loses all his cards. And once he starts losing all of his counters, I eventually start clearing his board, and then I go for game. But it's just as difficult, honestly. Just like against it's basically the what do you call it, a Gecko Moria leader essentially, except this one swings for 7K versus the Gecko Moria swinging 6. So this guy, when he's swinging 7K at me every freaking time, will have to do a 2K counter.
It's interesting though, because his 7 cost event only takes down 6 cost characters. So
Yeah,
the
so
fact that you play big bodies,
it's because I'm all big bodies minus like the one queen and the Sanji. I don't ever really worry about it. Yeah, so it's not bad.
even if they
But yeah,
play
no,
Red Rock, they don't.
yeah,
You have so
my
many
friend started
targets
putting
though.
red rocks because he has yet he struggles to beat my deck. Like I think out of the 5 matches we played, he only won 1 match. Yeah, so like I do like a mixture of board control against the blue Dofi versus the black Gecko Moria. There's the black Gecko Moria. I think what makes it a little different with the black Gecko Moria versus this one is that this Dofi being able to scry and summon cards, and set up whatever build they're gonna do. The most dangerous card is that Jinbei, really. And the 4 cost Jinbei, like that thing is, oh my god.
Mm.
That thing board swarms pretty fast. Yeah, that one. You basically just play a 4 cost or lower Jinbei. And a lot of the times he plays Edward Weevil, which is also 4 costs. It's the one that draws a card. Yeah, there you go. So he'll do that, draw a card, or that guy play the 4 cost Gecko Moria, but preferably he would try to do either that Gecko Moria or the 4 cost 6K Gecko Moria at the top right. Yeah, that's the one. But most of the time it's Ever Evil, and because he can like do those kind of special summons like that, um, I have to kind of worry about board control.
Yeah.
This Gecko Moria being able to do it once per turn, versus this guy could potentially do 3 summons a turn. Yeah, at some point I have to I have to do donor control. What else? Yeah, so the blue Dofi, it's not too bad. I'm pretty confident with that. The Boa leader, I can't tell you. I've actually never played against a Boa leader yet, but I would assume it's definitely not hard. I think just because with all the big bodies I have on the board and the fact that it doesn't special summon, like Blue Dofi. I can't imagine it being any harder. It's probably like I would probably say it's easier, but I mean, I don't know. I never played against it, so I can't say for sure.
She's better against characters that summon lower costs, like 5 costs, 6 costs. You know, like against your big body plays, and the fact that you ramp is gonna be harder. I mean, they could
Yeah,
bounce your Zoro, all that, but I think overall Dofi's probably scarier just because he can summon units
yeah,
that
he can special summon nonstop. I mean,
yeah
Boa can do it too, but he can do it at a faster rate than Boa can.
yeah no absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much like all the matchups. Like, I can't think of any other leaders that I've played against yet so far in set seven
I have some
that are
that I'd like
notable.
to run your brain over.
Oh yeah.
Nami, first one.
Oh, that matchup, it's so easy.
Oh
It's so
really?
free, man. Oh, dude, it's so free.
Tell me
I
more.
can't even.
Like I think the audiences want to know like what makes it free.
Oh, it's free because like it's because of swinging. So the magic number with Nami, if not many people know, it's 9K is the magic number
Hmm.
because the highest counter event card that they have is the Gum Gum. I think it's like rubber, not rubber band. It's like Gum Gum something. It's like a 2 cost card.
Two
Where was
costs.
it?
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a 1 cost. Sorry, I don't know why I said 2 costs. It's next to the Sanjay's Pilaf or Sanjay's Pilaf. Yeah, that one. Gavel. So 9K is the magic number. You can still. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can still do like you can still do 7Ks. 7Ks is just fine because then they have to use their bigger cards. And what's nice about forcing them to use that gavel is they have to trash the cards on their hand.
Mhm.
So you're helping clear their hand and whatnot. The hardest part though is like if I don't have any removal to cycle out that kill those Kayas if they keep cycling them. But difference though, again, is the dragon, right? Like being able to attach Dawn and swing. Because like dragon goes on the board, he's 9K swing. Gives me 8K buff. That one Dawn, I'm gonna swing 9K also. You know, next turn I could drop like, I don't know, another dragon or another Newgate. Like I played against one Nami and I just he didn't I don't I think he bit like he by the time I beat him, he didn't get to halfway through his deck.
Yeah, you're so consistently swinging 9K with your 6K leader and these characters that
Oh yeah.
that makes
I just swing
sense.
it. I just keep doing it nonstop. And you know, like over time, like yeah, they could probably like I mean, maybe he just got lucky, or maybe I got lucky and didn't get like really good trigger events. But yeah, the Nami, at least for the few matches I played against it, it's free. I have no problem against it so far. Unless, you know, God decides to give them the crazy RNG and like every trigger is like peel off into this into I don't know, man. I mean, it happens. I've seen it happen to me a couple times where they just it's just working and then they like mill like 20 cards in a turn or something crazy. I don't know.
Next leader, Crocodile.
Uh I don't remember having a problem with that deck either. Like yeah, they can also like semi ramp up with certain cards,
Mhm.
but I think overall, me being able to ramp up a little bit more consistently than the Crocodile. Actually, no, they ramp up faster than I do. But I think the characters that the cards that most players will put into the purple yellow Crocodile deck are a little. I mean, they're great for that deck, right? But it's not anything to be scared of with the characters I play in mind because I have practiced against the purple yellow. I have a player in my locals who does have a purple yellow built and he mained it for a good chunk of time. He's really good with it, and it works well. But I just think like against the big bodies I'm dropping, it's hard. And I think realistically, as the bigger picture of things, as to why you never, you know, red purple Luffy is just so like stuck in the shadows is the fact that he's 3 life. And I think a lot of people are not comfortable with playing with 3 life. But when you look at it all on paper and do some testing, you'll realize that a lot of the leaders have a hard time swinging with your 6K life until they get to a little bit mid game to be able to use the Dawn to swing at your life.
So the Crocodile, like his addition to like 10 drop ace and like his ability to summon a lot of life is not a problem because you're just swinging so much that he has to counter.
Yeah, I think it's not too bad because I mean, let's be honest. Would you rather play against a purple yellow crocodile or a yellow Enel? You know what I mean? Like that's
Surprisingly,
already a good answer, right? Like, yeah, sure, he can rush me down with a 10 drop ace, it goes back up another life.
yeah.
But that's not gonna stop my like under the assumption to have like my correct piece on the board. It's not gonna stop the kid. It's not gonna stop the dragon that's already on the board because it's always kid then dragon or kid then Whitebeard,
Yeah,
and
surprisingly,
then
like,
then dragon again or 10 drop Luffy. Like that, the like the extra life is not gonna do anything for you because you're not an L.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, actually, Nell gives me zero problems as a Moria player. I'm scared of these, like, off meta picks that, like, someone's been practicing by themselves.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's always off meta picks that are the most dangerous of all the other ones.
talking
Because you don't
about,
know what they're gonna play. Like it's hard. When I first played against the purple yellow croc, it was kind of I actually lost a few matches in set 6
yeah,
as practice. But then once I realized like, oh okay, that's what that card does. That's what this does. I'm familiar with the new cards that they run in these decks.
yeah.
I had no problem beating it anymore.
I have a few more, some fun ones. Yamato.
Yeah. Yamato is honestly my other hardest deck. There's like another person on my locals who plays that Yamato deck, and I feel like he gatekeeps me, dude. If I ever play against him, like on like set 6, like I couldn't. It's the thing that gets me every time is that stupid Hody Jones, man. It's
Yeah.
always the Hody Jones. Like I can't do anything when they do 8K Hody Jones. Rest 2 of my Dawn because I always forget about the stupid Dawn resting, and then attaches 2 Dawn to it and does a 10K swing. You know what I mean? But in the off chance they don't find Hody Jones, my matchup's fairly fair against Yamato. It's kind of hit and miss. It's really determined by the player because like some players are just so aggressive with just the leader because they know how to, they know what how to play against Luffy, right? And they just keep swinging at my face. Like, what am I gonna do? And he keeps swinging like nonstop. Like, starts off with the your starting turn, right? If you go like turn 2, you swing 9K. Like I can't the early game. It's gonna be so hard to swing like protect 9K, right?
Yeah.
I mean I can, but then that just like leaves me so screwed for the rest of the matchup,
Yeah.
the match. And then the next turn, you swing it like if you wanted to, you could swing another 15K. Like I don't have the deck built to swing to protect myself against people who will just risk it all by swinging constant big hits. Like that's probably like my biggest counter is the fact that like if someone were to just say fuck it, I'm just going to attach 9, attach 6 or attach 4 Dawn, attach 6 Dawn, attach 8 Dawn, attach 10 Dawn, and just swing, 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 swing. I actually wouldn't be able to survive that. No lie.
It's harder because Yamato has that double attack for sure.
Oh
Just
yeah,
because you go from 3 life to 1 life at turn 3 is like, okay, oops.
yeah, exactly. That's already the hard part, and that's why I think that matchup is so hard for me, as another hard one for me because it's like I mean there are occasional times I will protect against the 9K swing, and that will like kind of super detrimental to them because they're like oh shit, and then hopefully I have a radical beam for when I need it because it's always after my turn 2 as player 1 with the 3 Dawn turn to drop my Zorojuro.
Hmm.
That turn following with that 9K swing is basically the hit and miss. And I think maybe in the future I will actually try strats of just countering that first swing. Because I feel once I can get past that first swing, initial swing, the rest of the matchup actually is pretty easy because they have to start playing bodies, or I start bringing out my big ones and they start losing everything. But yeah, that green yellow is pretty rough. I did not like playing against that matchup.
Just really quickly, purple yellow, purple Luffy.
Oh, the purple Luffy. It's not hard either, but it's not easy. It's like a medium 50-50. Because when I play against some like there's one player at our local also who he only plays this deck, really good with it.
Hmm.
It's not easy when they ramp up way faster than I can, and every body that they put on the board is a 6K. So like everything they swing at me is like 6Ks,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I could probably try to clear their board, but the fact that they're taking their life into their hand on top of drawing cards, they have a higher card advantage than I do. But the bigger advantage against the purple Luffy is that their entire deck is 1K counters. So that's like the big benefit. So if I can survive long enough, because they're also losing life Dawn too, right? Or life too. So when they start losing life like that, it's a lot easier for me to swing pretty heavy into their life.
Hmm.
And at some point, they're gonna start like either countering with all their 1Ks, or they're gonna take it and then they have to play their blockers, and kind of forces them to make it like play a little more defensively, and then that sets the tone for me to keep swinging heavier into their life.
Yeah, I think you have to just have a good. It seems like you need to have a good game sense calculating their, what's in their hand, what do they cancel
Yeah,
out.
it's hard. I mean, that's another deck that's like I'm a little difficult against because like they're putting out just as many 6K bodies every turn as they possibly can.
Mm.
Almost every turn, I feel like it's always a 6K freaking body,
Yeah.
and because of that, it's almost like a board swarm because like with all that down ramping, yeah, I don't know, man, it's hard. It's not easy. I can tell you that it's not easy.
I think from all your local wins, though, like you faced so many variety of leaders. This has probably led you to become such a good player that you are. You're not just facing the meta picks. You're facing like so many different, like like you said, the purple yellow Croc, or like the
Oh
person
yeah,
that's playing like just Yamato, or I'm sure there's other leaders that people play, but I think your
yeah.
local scene seems
If you
like
were
a
to
good.
pull up, so humor me for a second, type in leader real quick on the search.
Mhm.
Let's see if it actually will.
Oh, it
Okay,
does.
now put all the colors.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
tell you every single leader I've played against
yeah. Let's do it.
at all my locals. Or actually, I can tell you, it'll be easier if I just tell you what I have not played against. So if we take out all the 8 cost sorry, 8 OPO 8s.
Okay. I don't know how
So,
to take them out from this.
oh yeah, I'm just saying, like if we took out OPO 8 as an example,
Oh, okay.
starting from the bottom, if we would go with the most obvious ones, I don't think I've ever seen anyone play Yamato, so that's out. The yellow Big Mom also out. Kagura is not in the game. I played against the bottom 3 already, but not that black Luffy because that one is
He's
not
not
out
out
yet.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I played against those 3. Um, in the next top row, I played against every single one of them in that row except Shanks and Pudding. Okay, maybe Shanks, Pudding, and what's that guy? Is that Kairos?
Kyros, yeah.
Yeah, Kairos.
Kairos.
Yeah, and then the next one up, I played against not that one. I played Foxy. I played all those. I haven't played against that promo Luffy because it's already hard to get. And then let's be honest, the Sakazuki, it's dead. So I haven't played against that either.
Surprisingly, I have a cool deck list for it, but that's for another time.
Oh yeah, the whole top row played against it.
Oh, the one
The
right
next
here?
row, yeah, played the whole row consistently. That whole damn row, I hated it. It's none of it was fun. Top row, no Carrot, no Hody Jones, no Isho, and no Kuro.
Yeah.
But the rest I have played against. Yeah, it's not bad. And then what's the next row? I actually have played against every single one of those, except those 2 because they're not out yet.
Yeah.
Top row, also every single one of those, except Dragon because he's new. Yeah, the far right Dragon. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty much. It's so crazy because I know what you're talking about too because there are actually some locals where everybody just plays meta and you literally don't learn anything because that's all you're playing is literally just the meta leaders, and it's so hard to learn from playing just against meta leaders because I will never forget when Whitebeard got his restriction during set was that set 4? It's like
Yeah.
Whitebeard got restriction, Zoro got the restriction, and Red Green Law got that restriction. It basically cut those 3 decks out of the game for like that small time frame, and all these different leaders showed up, and I watched everybody just get bodied by all these new leaders because nobody knew what to do against like some of those leaders during that set 4 time. Yeah, uh, yeah, man.
Two
All those decks are hard.
some quick questions. Uta film? How was that like?
Surprisingly, Utafilm, I don't know. Like in set 6, no, I think I played it more. She came out set 5 or set 6.
OPO started at deck 11.
So that's what set
Oh man.
6 or
I'm thinking it's set 6, but I'm not quite certain.
yeah, I can't remember.
No,
That
it has
deck
to be
was
earlier? No, I don't know.
I think it was like at the end of set 5, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that deck was hard. That's not easy. For me as well because the draw power is too strong.
Yeah.
The fact that they're constantly drawing cards, that's another thing that made that deck really difficult. And then the swarm, the fact that they can swarm the board real fast. Because essentially, basically, my deck does not do well against super fast-paced decks.
Yeah.
So against Zoro decks, it can be very difficult to play against Zoro.
Yeah.
Uta is another one. I guess in this case, that's the freaking Vegapunk is really hard to play against. Another hard one to play against is also
Iceberg? Question mark?
Iceberg. Actually, would be very difficult to play against. I know for sure because I actually play that Iceberg deck, for a while, and I actually won some local. I won some locals with it. I was so bored. I'll actually no, I didn't take that back. I did not win a local, but I was always top three. It's actually a pretty fun leader.
Yeah,
I
I've
would
got
actually,
a cool
yeah,
deck
I would
list from
actually play it.
someone about it too. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
it's actually super cool. I got one of these other videos. I'll show you the iceberg deck list I got that
Cool.
from the support from set six. Yeah, set six. But yeah, iceberg would be like another one. That's a swarm deck. What's technically blue Dofi would also be a difficult one too. But I'm going based the blue Dofi deck, not so much. But I'm also going with like old knowledge of like how my deck did in set six and set five
Yeah.
against that Uta deck specifically and that Zoro deck. Well, Zoro is always consistently like pretty hard with the rush, but because they can definitely do it a lot faster if they play like the old school Zoro deck with like all like low cost cards. Because if they do that build, I'm so cooked, dude. I'm so cooked.
I am curious. There are some leaders here we didn't go over, but it's almost like we're giving a masterclass on, RP Luffy, and you're just teaching us,
Oh
oh,
yeah, it's like a little bit of a mini masterclass. Because that's like the main one I play the
do
most.
you do you want to by chance like what if we went to every leader and you just give a sentence of advice for every leader?
Let me think.
Probably too much.
No, because the problem with the new strat I'm doing with this deck, I would honestly say for almost every single leader, you rush down their life every time. You're basically like an overpowered, cracked Zoro, where Zoro back in the day would rush down like everyone's life.
Yeah.
Same goes for this leader, except you're doing it with really big, heavy cards versus a bunch of tiny little cards.
Oh, I mean, and that's perfect because that just makes it simplified. It makes the matches consistent. But I do have some more matchups that I'm curious about.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Kid?
I'd say it can be difficult, right? Because it's dependent on the player.
Hmm.
Like I said, right? Kind of like a green yellow Luffy or green yellow, sorry, Yamato. The fact that this person can swing twice, I don't know. Now that I think about it, it's kind of I think I have a better matchup against them just because I can drop like the 7-drop kid and the 9-drop Whitebeards to power like boost up my power.
Hmm.
So yeah, at most he can do a 12k swing, but if I'm like sitting at 7 or 9k, it's not that hard to block it actually, because like this one radical beam. If I'm at a 7k power leader, it's a 4k, so I'm at 11k already. Just a 2k counter and a radical beam.
I was
And
gonna.
then
Yeah.
if you talk about Newgate with the Newgate and the kid, I'm at 9k. One radical beam and counter out at 12k.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think I want to believe the matchup against that will be a lot easier with Dragon in the mix. But yeah,
Perona? A big one that we haven't covered yet.
when I played against Verona, I remember completely destroying that deck because a lot of their things revolve around killing and resting all my low cost stuff, but I don't play low cost anything.
Mm.
So like half of their stuff doesn't work. I mean, I guess I think the hardest part to get over with the Perona is dealing with the fact that it can rest at low cost. So that will be detrimental to like the Zoro starting turn to like try to ramp. So I probably would protect it actually, but more than likely they'll drop a card that like
Yeah.
KOs my
Ryuma
Zoro
or
Jiro.
something.
So I'll probably have a little bit of a slower ramp game. But overall, I don't. I personally would say I didn't have any issues playing against Perona before.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Magellan?
Oh
Question mark?
yeah, I probably would lose that for sure. If all they care about is like negging Dawn, I'd probably die.
Yeah, because they're consistently swing 6 with Magellan. The
Yeah,
character.
exactly. And then if they keep negging Dawn on me, like I can't. I can only well, if I can ramp up fast enough to get to the 8 to 10 Dawn, it doesn't matter how many negative Dawns they do because I can always bring it back. But it's the fact. But it's if I can't get. Well, actually, I don't know because actually now that I think about it, it's gonna take a while. Does Magellan have anything to ramp right now?
Not necessarily. I mean, he could play Ram cards, but I'm not a big
Yeah,
Magellan. Like,
because
I haven't looked up
yeah, I
race
don't
that
know
long.
either. I cannot say anything. I can't say anything, whether I would do good against it or not.
Okay.
No, I don't know any of the tech now anymore.
It's so exciting. This is why I love this game. You just add OPO7 cards, and all these old leaders can some
Yeah,
can be
can
a
all of a
super
sudden
battle.
magically do raising.
Another
Yeah, yeah.
leader,
Um,
Katakuri.
Katakuri, it's hit and miss. It's really comes down to like how many. That's the thing I hate about this leader. I hate anything big bomb pirate like archetype because it's like I've lost so many games to just like three. I've had a game where they dropped all 4 drops because I couldn't push them hard enough to where they could not feel like unsafe to play it. They just played it anyway, and like even if they had like 1 life, because they probably had enough counters. It's hard because like I don't know. I think at the moment, based off of my old knowledge, I would have a harder time playing against that deck. With the new deck, I'd probably say I have a better chance than before.
Oh, yeah.
But whether I will consistently win with the dragon or not is the question. But with Shanks in the build, though, that definitely changes everything. Because if Katakuri drops or 7-drop mom drops or something, no, it's not 7. It would have to be 8-drop like Katakuri. I'm dropping that Shanks. I'm gonna kill everything off the board. So it might be different now. I think I might have a better matchup now than I did before. So Katakuri was like one of those definitely cards that like I always hated playing just because if the big bombs, it's such a strong card. Oh man, that card is so strong. All of them are strong.
All right.
But yeah, that one's also like another form of a rush deck. But if they can't kill me fast enough, I will kill them.
Yeah.
It's because Bella Betti has always been known to be like swarm the board as fast as possible, activate her main, everybody's swinging 7k nonstop, like on turn 2 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or on their turn 3 or whatever, they're swinging nonstop 7ks, and it's like pretty rough. I built the Bella Betti deck back when it first came out, and man, that thing would just melt people instantly. I would beat decks in 2 turns, as well as lose in 2 turns. So, but I haven't seen it since 5. So it could be better in 7 with the new addition of like all the different Rev army cards.
Yeah.
But how much more different, I don't know. But it's a strong pick considering that you just have to discard 1 card to buff 3 cards for
Crazy.
3k power. That's pretty nuts.
And plus, they can do the little character ability that makes you 1k weaker.
Oh yeah, but the Karasu. God, I hate that card. Yeah, that card's so strong. Man.
Last few matchup picks, and then I think we have some. There's another idea I have after this, but last few matchup picks.
Yeah, sure.
Yourself.
Oh man, against myself? I played against myself. It's actually really hard. It really comes down to like who can ramp up the fastest, and if we equally ramp, it actually then comes down to who plays what card first and in what order. That's the most important thing. And what they decide to attack. And a lot of the times, it's just going to be attacking the leader. So it really comes down to before the dragons, it really was just like how many Whitebeard new gates can you get on the board before your opponent can, and who can ramp up fastest. And then it came down to can you protect against at least 2 swings at the end game. If you can, you basically kind of won. Or who can drop the 10-drop faster as well. Because the 10-drop, when you consider like dropping like your 7-drop and your 9-drop, right? If you had a 10-drop ready in the bank and ready to play against your own matchup, you're swinging 8k, then a 10k, drop the 10-drop Luffy, swing 7k, next turn 10k, 12k. That's too many cards and too many hits in fast succession at high power that I know for sure no red purple Luffy gets protect against unless they have like 10 Dawn active or something, or I mean not 10 but like 4 active for 4 radical beams, you know what I mean? And with us being already at 3 life, I'm sure we took 1 life somewhere in that match. And then when you get swung with that combo of Kid, Newgate, Luffy leader, 10-drop leader, Luffy leader, and 10-drop leader, that's already what 5 swings at 7k plus. That was pretty much it. That's basically the combo. It was the same thing every single match.
I have 2 last leaders.
Sure.
As a former Reiju main, how would you feel? I mean, sure, there's law. Reiju is very unviable. I mean, it's hard to play Reiju right now.
Oh, yeah.
Against Reiju, as a former Reiju main.
I honestly think I would have a very slow game against the Reiju player. But because knowing that they don't have many 2k counters, it's mostly 1ks in their deck. Being a Reiju player, I would not have a hard time with them against them if once I got to maximum 10 dollars. because the green sorry the Reiju player is more of a slow sustain game throughout the match. Slowly, swarming the board, keep throwing cards to find things you need. You have the counters. You reactively re or you actively react to the cards that they play by playing either, the Blue Ranger to bounce it back to their hand, or play the 7-drop Red Ranger to minus 2k to the rest of the character on the board for your leader to swing at. And then they have the option of countering out, and then you just swing with Ichiji, right? Or you end up dropping your typical purple Ranger, Reijus, then keep drawing cards. It's a reactive deck, and the deck is meant to be played where you're playing based off of what your opponent is doing. And the hardest part against the red purple Luffy is that I'm not doing much of anything besides ramping as fast as possible, and then all of a sudden an 8 drops on them for 9k swing. And then a 7 drops on the board that they can't get rid of unless they ran 7 drop kid to be more specific. Unless they ran like Red Rock, right, to like bottom deck. And most of the Reijus don't run that. So I would say I would have a very easy matchup against the Reiju deck, because I know as a Reiju player I would have a hard matchup for sure against the red purple Luffy, unless you constantly swing. You have to like swing nonstop 6Ks. But in the old like set 6 and below, but in set 7 it's a little different with the rushes and bit. Or Charlotte Pudding. If they Charlotte Pudding me, I get so screwed, man. I either get really lucky or I get super screwed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how do you feel against this card? Like, it seems like
it's hit and miss. It's honestly hit and miss. There's been times where my friend who was playing the blue Dofi would use it against me, and he got rid of my whole dead hand and gave me all 2k counters. And like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So it's hit and miss. It's just luck of the draw. Sometimes it super screws me over. Other times, it's more beneficial, I'd say. I feel like most of the time it's happened, I would still find cards that I needed.
Yeah, because you have so many big boss monsters, you can play
exactly anything. So like I could just play them in any order.
Okay, so last leader, and then I have one last activity for us.
Sure.
Oh, I should have wrote leader. Now it's gonna like delay super long. Okay, there we go. Last leader, Foxy.
I don't think I've played against a Foxy yet. I know their ramp is really strong. I have a friend who has built a Foxy pirate deck. I don't know. I cannot say. I haven't not played against it yet at all. So if you happen to have a deck build, I mean, I have no idea how. Like, I just know they ramp up really fast, and they do something weird with like that Foxy pirate card.
Yeah, they have the ability to make, I think, one of your characters not being able to attack or something.
Oh, I guess that's not bad. I mean, I already deal with that with the blue Dofi deck. Considering blue Dofi also has boas now. Does he do anything else besides ramping?
Oh, he ramps, but there's something. He ramps really fast. Oh, 6 cost or lower. Okay, so that's not as
so it's not an issue.
Yeah, okay. I just thought it would be funny, just to like the last leader we checked.
I mean, but I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I have not played against it, so I can't. Oh wait, the cards you choose now become active in their opponent's next refresh phase.
Yeah. Yes, there we go.
That might be an issue, maybe, but I don't know. Can't say. I will be unbiased to that and say no idea.
It's interesting because it says if you have 3 or more Foxy characters in play, choose up to one of each of your opponent's rested leaders and characters. The cards you choose do not be active during next opponent's next refresh phase. Does that mean they can do 1 character and 1 leader?
Choose up to 1 each of your opponent's rested leaders and characters. Does that mean it's 2? So if it's 2, that's actually really dangerous.
That's why I brought it up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was something there, like midway our conversation. I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
And
but I think the only thing, like, I guess against my leader, I would actually, if it actually does do that for 2 characters, I'd actually have a hard time playing against it. I know for sure I would, but luckily because all their cards are low cost, the reason why it's so like not good is because it just gets destroyed by black decks.
Yeah.
Like let me look at it. It's all 3 costs. That's so easy for Rob Lucci or Gecko Moria to just cost reduction and just kill it.
Pickles is interesting because people don't recognize that you cannot remove their other characters unless it's like if this character's in play.
Wait, whoa! I did not know that. And then Pickles can. Oh, So they have to kill that first.
Yeah.
To then kill. Oh, huh.
And in fact,
Oh.
Foxy, I don't see it being represented, of course, but
Yeah, I don't see it
it's
either.
such a funny deck to play.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, it cannot be KO'd?
Yeah, so
Is it?
only by their
Oh,
effects.
cannot be KO'd. Oh, but then that's another problem. Since there's a higher chance of red purple laws.
Yeah. Bottom deck.
Yeah, they get bottom deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we covered that part, I have a fun idea. And this I think should be our last part of this video.
Yeah.
How about you face me in a 1v1 match?
Oh yeah, sure. We could do like a couple matches. I don't mind that.
Okay.
What are you planning to play?
Probably just one or two because I have my tournament tomorrow at like 6 a.m.
Wait, you wanted to play that right now, or did you want to play it later?
Oh, let's play right now. I'll bring up my Moria deck actually. Because you already talked
There you
about
go.
how you can like destroy Moria by going by not
I
swinging.
mean, don't
at
get me
my
wrong. Like, I can destroy Moria, but I can still lose to it too. So it's not 100% win rate, that's for sure.
No, but like now I know like my character's not gonna be swung at. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, let's try this. Let's try this.
In
Let's try
fact,
this thing.
you and I need to play more because I think you're a really good player. And
Yeah, and I can test out other deck builds too if you need to.
yeah.
Ooh, that helped out.
Let's see. Boom, boom.
For 7, this.
Yeah, I think this would be fun because like Moria is kind of a meta pick, and also we've talked so much about your deck. I want to see it in action, you know.
Oh hell yeah!
And probably I think
Oh
other
wow,
people
this
want
kind
to
of
see
helped
too.
out in my favor. The top deck draw.
Oh yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah.
7, 2, swing, boom, all at it, done.
Oh nice. Dang. Does it die? Okay, it dies.
Yeah,
Forgot to just do all that stuff first.
such a good card.
I know. So good. So yeah, in this case, if there's blockers like this, I have to get rid of them, right? Because like it doesn't make sense to like not get rid of a blocker. Like I choose to either get rid of a blocker, right, and then you have to counter out, or you let it go, right? And then you counter out. It's like okay, perfect. I don't need to give you card advantage.
Yeah.
Is how I would look at it. And then in this case, this is where it starts going in my favor because it's like okay, I get rid of the blocker to try to protect. So I don't have to worry about dealing with it later. Ooh. Yeah, bring it back. That's not bad. That's good. That's good.
Swing, counter, boom, boom. Yeah, can't really play it. Very good. Very good. 6, 7, 2, 1. One block.
Okay. Oh yeah, kill that. It's not bad. Can you kill it? Or did you do the order wrong?
No, I could kill it.
Oh yeah? Oh,
You,
oh,
you,
it's
you
going.
scared me for
Oh
it.
yeah, I forgot. It's different when you're playing on that one.
I was like,
Wait.
oh what? I was like, oh no, did I mess it up?
Okay, let's see. What do we do here?
Oh no, 10 drop. Oh no, what have I done?
Oh yeah, you see it already coming. Yeah. Yeah. So here it is. This is the fun combo.
Wow, that is a death sentence.
Right?
What? That's
Unless that's a fucking. Unless that's like a
beige in my black
a
deck.
beige or something, right? I actually I still have PTSD against beige. I always think that last one is like always, a beige, even though I'm like not even playing against yellow. I always think like in that last life, like, is it gonna be like this? Black decks have a beige type of card or something? No.
I was,
Alright, son.
I think, a perfect example of how scary the 10 drop with your
Oh, yeah.
big body boards are.
Oh man, this is a terrible hand. I just mulligan into like the worst hand ever.
I don't know if you noticed, but my last game was kind of not so nice either.
Yeah,
But
it was definitely not.
I liked how you played it still. It's not even the worst thing, but my 101 Kobe.
Oh, dude. Oh man, that extra ramp. It's kind of nice, but
Hey, that's why it's in your deck, right?
that's right.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, oops. See, that's my
no.
trouble. I don't check my trash enough as Moria.
Oh no, you didn't have an Absalom?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
bummer.
It's okay. Oh, my Ice Age. Oh no.
Okay, good learning experience.
Yeah. I think my weakness as a player is I like to rush games.
Oh yeah, no, I get you.
Oh, Ice Age would be great against Kid. Oh, let's see. Back to reality. Boom, 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 boom. 7. Oh, that's so good. Because, like, I was counting your dawn
So
just
good.
now. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
like, can he play 10 drop? I'm like, oh, no, he can't. Great. And then you play your 9 drop. Oh, my gosh. Are these swings legal?
I know, right?
It's nice. I think I need these cards. Man, I might have to start repping this Luffy already, because this is dangerous. What the heck?
You know, just imagine if I could find a dragon right now.
Wow. I see. You know, all that conversation we've had, I think this gameplay is like the biggest, like, okay, we're switching to Luffy moment for a lot of people watching, probably.
Hey man, it's a sleeper deck. Did you know? Like my friend pointed it out to me. You could take it for what you will. Japan is scared of the color purple.
Really?
Did you notice in all the sets they almost never played a purple deck leader
Oh, wow.
until red purple Luffy? There's occasional Zephyrs back in the day, but that was like purple black. But if you could recall, it's very rare to see like actual black decks being played.
Oh, wow. I don't even keep track of the Japanese meta, so I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, if you look through all the metas, you can see all the purples, but you'll see a very small few versus like red, red, greens, like all that stuff. Yeah.
Hey, you might counter. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Oh, here, you know what's coming. You know what's coming right now.
I mean, that's if you pull it, because I didn't see no Nami searcher.
True, you're not wrong.
1, 2. Oh my gosh, these swings, man. Oh no.
I know it's pretty rough.
It's so good. Ability. Oh, okay.
Well, if you could protect the 9K, never mind, it's a
10K with 3 cards.
yeah, I
Yes.
was gonna say
7, 9, 11. Wow.
I almost lost that game actually. I'm not gonna lie. I had like 2 radical beams in my hand, and if it wasn't for that Whitebeard, I probably would have lost.
I mean, but you play that Whitebeard like for a reason.
Yeah, I had to play it for a reason. So I was like, if I don't play it, I'm gonna die.
Oh my gosh, that was like.
You can do one more. You can do one more.
Yeah, last one, and then I think.
Yeah.
The people have seen the true power.
Oh wow, this is a terrible hand. What about this one? Oh no, this is not any better either.
You know, I'll keep this. Let's see how.
Yeah, because that last match I didn't have any ramp besides the one event. Yeah. Let's see, can I get anything good from this? No. I mean, something.
Yeah, you know, you're only weak. Your characters leaders that actually beat you, people don't really play. So I can see what you meant by how the end of the set you kind of showcase more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like it was like red purple Luffy's randomly out of the blue started doing extremely well in set 6, like at the very last bit, or no, set 7 in Japan, because like somebody just randomly was playing with it and just found like the build, I guess. Oh man, this is hard. I don't have anything. I have no ramp. So this is where the deck struggles. So because of the mulligan and the draws and the Nami, I didn't find any ramps. So this is one of those games I could have an issue.
It's good because we want to show people both the pros and cons of playing this deck.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you're still gonna win.
No, I don't think so. I'm at 6 Dawn next turn. Guess I can do this. Damn.
I'm trying to be as.
Oh wow, now I find it. Okay, that's a little late. That would have been perfect the last turn.
I'm trying to be as annoying as I can. Just swing 6, swing 7.
Yeah, no, that's actually the way you're supposed to do it. So in this case, where I can't do much, I have no choice but to swing it early board. Because now I'm in this position where, because I couldn't ramp fast enough, that's where I would have to kind of convert my playstyle back to like board control to kind of minimize the damage, like do damage, like minimize, damage control, I guess, essentially.
Yeah. All right, I'll just do it.
Yeah, it's already like 1, 2, 3. You have 4 2K counters out of your hand already, based off of like your trash and your board. I'll take that. Okay, that's not bad, I guess.
I had another play I could have done to get rid of your Benton, but I want to summon as many like bodies to just 6K.
Oh, that's a good call. I think it's good.
Yeah, but here comes the judgment turn. Big body
right?
time. 8. I think I'm okay taking
What the heck? Jesus. Oh no.
I don't have enough Dawn to do anything, so I'm just gonna swing this just for principle.
This is so hard. I don't even know what to do.
I don't know, 10 drops too scary. I gotta.
Yeah, that's a smart play. Just kind of counter out.
Even though like people seeing this will know like, oh, I could have had the ability to KO your kid, but you're at 7 Dawn with 5 cards in hand. I think I just wanna, if this swing doesn't work, just have a little bit of breathing room.
Oh, 100%. You're not wrong there. So like this is another issue, or not issue, another instance. Unless you drop a Gecko Moria, I would actually focus on clearing board. Unless I get a 10-drop Luffy somewhere. That's a different story. If I get a 10-drop Luffy, that could change everything. That's definitely not a 10-drop Luffy.
Yeah, I could have played the 8-drop, but I think this is the move to do against you right now.
No, I think so.
Because like countering out to leave 3 life, you swing next unless you have the rush. Even with the rush dragon,
No, I can't. I can't do anything.
yeah, unless you have.
Oh yeah, this is it. This is game over. This is this is what happens. Also, this is a great example of when I don't have ramp. Yeah. So without ramp, I couldn't really like do anything at all this game. So I'll just go for board. I mean, I can't really. Next turn's basically dead. So.
But the crazy thing is, like, if I was at 2 life just now, and you play your dragon,
I would win. I would have one, yeah. If you had not countered out. Well, I mean, you probably could have countered out another turn and stuff, but yeah. So yeah, this is a great example. So, with this, I can't really do much when the ramp is not there, as you saw, because unless I can ramp really fast, I get kind of screwed. So it was kind of difficult not being able to ramp. I think there's a card. Let me see if I can find cards. Make that your last one because you need to head to bed. But there's one specific card I'm waiting for in OP08 that I will swap out for.
I share my screen again if you wanna.
Oh yeah, sure. I just can't remember if it's searchable, so I don't know if there's anything I can search it. So if you can, that's definitely gonna help. So if you go to the purple cards, one of the cards I've been considering doing, and then I would have to figure out like a way to mess around with the build, but I probably won't change it still. It's just kind of like a thought. Is if you go scroll all the way down to the purple events, the card I want to get changed to, and I'll probably like ask around because that's another thing too. How I got this deck to be as strong as it is some people I've met in local scenes is like really prideful and they don't like to ask like for help from others to get like deck building suggestions. And some people, well, they do, and I'm one of those people. I like to ask. So how I got to this deck over the iterations of set 5 to now, was going through brainstorming with a bunch of people who played against me or build the deck with me. But one of the cards I want to add is if you look at the very bottom left corner, it's that 3 cost event from set 8. That is the one I want to start adding into the deck as a ramp option. Because I could use that essentially on my turn 3. Yeah, I may not have a body on the board, but as you saw in that specific instance of a match, when I don't have a single form of ramp, I got pretty destroyed there. I couldn't really do much. Because once you get to your 10 Dawn, and I'm not at 10 Dawn yet to start dropping big bodies, what makes the deck weak is in the chance I cannot ramp at all. The thought process behind it is that with you being able to equally stay on pace with your Dawn management, with mine, you'll have more Dawn to play with when I drop that 7-drop kid or I drop that 9-drop at Newgate, right? Versus when I'm already at that 9-10 Dawn and I'm dropping 7-drop after 9-drop and you're barely getting to your 6 Dawn, your 8 Dawn turn to play your bodies, right?
Yeah.
You don't have much Dawn to play with in those instances. Versus being at your 8 Dawn and I finally drop my first kid or first Newgate versus your 6 Dawn, it's not hard for you to swing over a 7k or an 8k when you have more Dawn to play with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would use this card to eventually to get rid of Zoro Juro. But the problem is that I don't know unless you know if there's a searcher to find any 4 emperors. Because Newgate's an emperor, all the Luffys are emperors, right? And Shanks is an emperor. And Dragon, he's not, sadly.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
At least not yet. But
yeah, see, I don't know. Let me look at that purple card too on my screen. It's a 4 Emperor and a Big Mom Pirate. So like that was a card I was considering adding to the deck because there's going to be a lot of 6k power cards, but the problem is like to be able to consistently find it. Because the hard part is Zoro Juro is not I can find him, but the only time I could use Zoro Juro is on my second turn as player 1. It's really difficult to play him on other turns because I could play Mr. 2. But Mr. 2 is not searchable because if I play Nami, I completely bottom deck Mr. 2 and I'm so screwed.
Have you considered other Dawn mapping cards apart from Zoro Juro? I know the 1k counter helps though.
No, because Mr. 2 is just the better card. Because like
I meant
he brings
for Zoro.
it active. For Zoro? I mean that's where I tried Jean Bart, but then the Jean Bart is a 4 cost, right?
Yeah.
And because I like to play as a first player 1 versus going player 2, the reason I do player 1 versus player 2 is because the player 1 essentially sets kind of the tone for the match, and being able to swing first, I can already start working my way to getting a head start into swinging into their life and setting up for, you know, the future for the rest of the matchup, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Well, yeah, man. Hey, thank you so much for showing this. We've been recording for almost 2 hours now. So in fact, I
Wow,
want to
I
make
didn't
it like
realize. I
exactly
honestly
two
didn't
hours.
realize it was that long. Wow.
No, time flies when you're having fun. But not only that, man. Like this content you just shared, this is probably like Patreon level knowledge. You just given people the masterclass of Monkey D. Luffy, RP Law,
I hope
RP
so.
Luffy in OPO7.
I hope so. I hope I don't come off as some noob.
No, you know what's
But,
crazy? Like you talked about how people don't ask, but the flip side's true. A lot of people they hide their deck list. They think their combinations the best ever. They don't want other people to know, but you're just giving this information out for free, and I think that's so impressive that you've just taught so many people. I mean, here's the crazy part: is a lot of people might pick up this deck, but you're the master at it. So I think.
I know, right? Unless somebody plays it better. but
Oh,
no, I
man.
get you. I get you. I totally get you. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it a lot, and I just found like I knew when I saw this like what do you call it? This deck show up as like a part of the three captains deck. I was like, that's the deck, because what basically sold me on this card was when we were back in set 4 and they showcased set 5, like red, purple Luffy, the three captains, and then what sold it for me was seeing the 10 drop and seeing how the combo worked with like the 10 drop Luffy, pop a Dawn, gain a Dawn with character, attack 7k, next turn swing 2 more times for 10 and 12. Like that sold me on the deck. Not even and without even looking at all the other stuff yet, right? And then from there I just kept playing it. Yeah, it just won lots like I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I may not be topping like regionals or anything crazy, but let's be fair. Everyone can honestly agree that like it's pretty damn hard to top regionals when you had Sakazuki in the mix from set 5, 6. That damn deck was so fucking strong.
Okay, I know exactly what you're saying because I used to play so many off meta leaders like Yamato, and I was just like, hey, let me just try once like this meta leader. And I tried Moria, and it's just like he's too easy. Like I was like,
Yeah,
people keep trash talking like, oh, like they trash talk a lot of the cards, but I'm like, y'all don't realize I can play 8-drop characters, get so much value, get
yeah,
protection, get KO'd, and like, I know. I think that the fact that you're trying to break from that meta and also introduce a new element to the game, you're changing. I mean, our last video, you got like 700 views. So like, if we were to share this with this knowledge, you could be changing the very environment of NA competitive scene.
well, it'd be nice because the one thing I always hate hearing from my locals is I have a person from my locals. He's like yeah, and he's like a firm believer of the freaking like Japanese meta, right? And anything he sees on those, the meta deck list for like what Japan does is apparently like the one all be all, right? But the difference between Japan and America is the play styles. And the play styles is the reason, as a good example, why Japan didn't top Nats, or not Nats, Worlds. They didn't get the highest place in Worlds, right? I think they got like one of the lower placings. I think I could be. You could fact check me on that too, um, for Worlds. But wait, let me double check. I'll fact check myself. One Piece.
Yeah, while you're
World
looking that up,
Championship.
I'll just talk about how we are so blessed to not only see Japan's meta, but like you only get better combinations of cards
Yeah,
from all this playtesting, from all this like so all their while they're pioneering the way of building decks, we have the ability to then like, okay, now that we know that, let's take this a step beyond. How does this playthrough work? Or,
yeah,
how do we counter that counter meta?
yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
here we
saying,
go.
but
Um,
I'm very impressed by your anti-meta build, and honestly, the fact that you won 2 locals in a row with this, I think is just so impressive considering how diverse your meta is, but also your
yeah,
locals. But
I just hope it just keeps going. Oh, by the way, to add into it, first place was Malaysia in the World Championship. Then there's Clyde Jackson for NA Finals,
Hmm.
or sorry, NA Finals. Second place is NA, third place is EU, and fourth place is Japan.
Which props to them. Like it, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
yeah, no,
the
no, props to them. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. But it's the biggest difference is playstyle. Like, remember when I don't know if you remembered when Clyde Jackson guy. Remember when he swung with his Rebecca, his zero cost Rebecca into like another Rebecca or something? I don't
Uh,
know if you remember that.
I honestly did not watch Worlds just
Oh,
because
okay. It
I
was
was so sad
crazy.
I couldn't
Like it
attend.
was just. Oh yeah, no worries. It was one of those things that like I remember we were watching on stream, and maybe other people do it. I don't know. I don't know. But it was just wild to see like he used this zero cost event blocker to like KO something else on the board. And then it was like, holy crap, did he just use that to KO something? Like he just lost his blocker. You know what I mean? But then it still serves a purpose because it's a pseudo blocker, right? You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Um hopefully. My set 9 I already have like a set 8 build set. So someday we'll talk. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about it soon, but because there's no point. We're barely in set 7, right? But it just some other fun facts too, if you ever want to know. If you ever want to do a deck review on Zoro, I actually my one of my friends from my locals, he got top 16 in Treasure Cup once
Oh,
with
nice.
his Zoro build in set 1. And he's been consistently playing the Zoro from set 1 all the way up to now.
Oh
Not
wow.
like every set, but like that's his baby, right? Like the Zoro build is his baby, and I would probably say he's probably the best Zoro player I know. He can still make that one deck work, and I've watched him like beat Rob Lucci's with his like Zoro deck
So
and
before
other decks.
we transition, and like one last thing is, do you want to say any last words, any last advice about RP Luffy?
I'd probably say with RP Luffy, one of the things, maybe it's just me as a personal player, I'd say take gambles. Sometimes, it doesn't hurt to like depending on your local scene, and the type of matchups you end up seeing more often, and I guess the shift of the meta, right? Like, you know, you, there's nothing wrong with changing the ratios, right? Because the cool thing about this deck is like, yeah, I'm running 3 Shanks, and I probably might actually run 3 Luffys instead of 3 Shanks. But it's also really dependent on like how you feel the met, like how you feel feel out the meta, right? If you see more of the black decks being played, you could put in more Luffy's, or actually technically leave the Shanks there, or add like -1 Shanks, add more Luffy. If you see more black yellows,
Matchup.
it's a very versatile deck in which certain cards in this deck you can technically switch them out for other cards, based off of your playstyle. But really, the thing too is the biggest takeaway from this deck is even though it's a 3 cost or 3 life leader, no matter what happens, always swing at their life with the okay and having and occasionally with the correct game sense, knowing when to clear board or at least clear some of the board, but always be swinging at life nonstop. Because when you swing at life, that will always guarantee you cards out of someone's hand versus swinging at a character that they'll just let it go because they don't want to lose cards in their hand. And that's probably the biggest takeaway when you're playing like this specific leader versus other leaders where you could bottom deck and cost reduction KO.
So I do have one last thing. I had some comments in the last video. People really liked it, but they did have some comments that I'd like for you to address. I know this is a new list, but I'll just read them
Uh-huh.
out to you. Someone wrote, I don't know about this list, missing the zero, and I'll actually open the old list so that we can like kind of see what they're talking about and you can compare.
Oh yeah.
He said, I don't know about this list, missing zero cost events for 1-drop events that interfere with Rad Beam, giving up the law discard for a 6 to 7k banish that will get removed before it can attack. No Zorojuros and using a different 2k instead of for Nosuke. I also don't agree with not having queen blockers, bit of sus list. Which
Oh yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like you
I do
changed.
remember that. Yeah. Oh yeah, because I think based off of the video, like the person, because I do remember that person. Like I think I commented on that. Is I did mention that like at the very beginning of the video, this is a test video, and I remembered we showcased in that video what or not. I didn't showcase it, but I did tell them in the video that like, oh yeah, by the way, this is a test build that I'm kind of cooking, but the real deck, like I would say, remember, oh, I took out these 1 cost to try it out, but normally this is 0 cost Jet Gatling, and then of course some of these cards, this is supposed to be Zorojuro, this one's supposed to be Queens, but I'm testing it out. So yeah, no, I totally agree with what they're saying, and it was one of those things that just testing out the waters, just to see, because this deck hasn't changed much since set 6,
Hmm.
let alone set 5. Essentially, the makeup of the deck is basically the same, with the addition of Sanji, but he's just a 2K counter. He can be played on with the combination of a 10-drop Luffy as a quick blocker, and the addition of like Dragon and Mister Two. But overall, the deck has okay, Baccarat and Shanks. I mean, I guess technically it's a lot of new stuff, but majority of the deck is still the same essentially. Like Rad Beams, zero cost, 2K counters, the correct ratio, 2K counters, new gates, 10 drops, right? Sanji Zoro or Zoro Juro, sorry. But no, I mean I don't blame them because it's one of those things too, right? That people I feel in America has an issue with is like trying out different builds to just see and just to test it, right? Because like yeah, I get it, like these are some decks that are topping, but right? Do you remember when Sakazuki first came out? It wasn't the top deck, actually.
Yeah.
For beginning of set 5. Set 5, I don't necessarily remember the first half of set 5 of the top deck. I think
Was
at
it
the top,
Whitebeard?
I think it was Whitebeard, and there was like another card, or another leader, but anyway, but somebody eventually cracked set 5
Yeah.
Sakazuki, and that ended up becoming for 2 sets in a row the best deck, right?
Mhm.
And you can't do that without trying out something new. And I think that's why, like with the at least to answer that comment, right? Like, you tried something new. I was like, okay, it doesn't work. Let's just go back to my original idea of how I wanted to build the deck, because the testing is not working.
So they mentioned no Nico Robbins for Bond Clay and Rebecca answers.
I had no problem with that because the Nico Robin, I did consider putting them back in, but because I'm constantly swinging at life with such heavy swings, I felt that with depending on cards in your hand, what's on the board, right? I actually killed a Rebecca once because the Whitebeard. No, well, I mean there happened to be a Whitebeard on the board. Why they played Rebecca, I don't know. But I popped the 8-drop dragon, attached it to the Whitebeard, so that's 2 Dawn on him. So he does 12k, right? And then, I mean, yeah, my leader doesn't get the swing, 8k, but kills Rebecca at least, right? Mr. Two, I feel like with the Mr. Two being able to swing with whatever bodies on the board, that's cool. But it's you take one life. It's sometimes I started feeling that like using that one card to kill it, it definitely helps. Don't get me wrong. Helping kill the Mr. Twos and like Rebecca's, but I feel that like being able to swing really heavy, and with the deck list being so tight into life, I never really had an issue with Mr. Twos yet. Like, the Mr. Twos would swing once into me, and maybe I'll probably take the life if there is a big body on the board. But when the only ones who play Mr. Two is really just Red Purple Law, and Red Purple Law is already having a hard matchup against me as it is. And by the time the Mr. Two actually gets to be doing something good, right? It's probably when I drop the 7-drop kid already. And when I drop the 7-drop kid, it's an 8k on the board. My leader's now 7k. He swings 8k, I just 2k counter.
I think also when you talk about Rebecca's, like I was playing a black leader, and don't get me wrong, I went like X1 in my last tournament with 64 players. I was struggling. You did not need to care about Rebecca at all.
No, I didn't care. Like, I mean, that was a good example, right? Like, the Rebecca, I mean, yeah, blocker is there, right? But realistically, like, you just keep swinging, and eventually, they all go through.
Yeah.
So when you're like, you swing a 10k, yeah, they're gonna block. Then you swing another 9k, like they can't block that. You know what I mean? They have to counter it.
And
like,
another thing is like your characters are so high end. Like on your 9-down turn, are you gonna like play Rebecca and then maybe an 8-drop instead of the Whitebeard? Like your numbers, I think you just need. Like the Rebecca, Nico Robbins, just you're going out of your way, like you said. You beat
out of your way.
You beat Black already. You don't need to go out of your way for that.
Oh yeah, because you go out of your way for that one Dawn, when I could just because like you play an 8 Dawn card, you have 2 Dawn left. If you're lucky to have a kid on the board, then you'll have 3 Dawn left, and yeah, you can play it, and then get rid of it, which is nice. But the problem is like until you're playing, like until you test it against like these decks, you start to realize like I don't really need it. It's not really that much of a hassle to deal with the Mister Two, or deal with the Rebecca, on the board.
Yeah.
When you're swinging with like a ton of super strong bodies, and then when you have a 10 drop available, right, or Diablo Jambe, it's not that bad.
So next
So
question, bro. Nice video, but one question: aren't there too many non-counter cards in combination not running that zero cost event? So yeah, you already added the zero cost event, 2 of them.
yeah, so of course, to the new iteration, which is the final, probably my final iteration with maybe some slight ratio changes every once in a while, based off of like how I feel with the meta and stuff. Because I'm bound to not top anything, of course. Maybe I'm just getting lucky. Who knows? But oh, that's what Baccarat's for, right? So the Baccarat being a 3 cost, yeah, it's going to be easily KO'd in a Rob Lucci matchup, but that's resources they have to use to KO it. And that tells me is like when they do it, that's just one card of their hand, gives me more information as to what counters are in there, and then on top of that, you're forcing them to discard or take out of their trash to put in their deck, and then that's less resources for them to use for Rebecca or Gecko Moria, right? When you play it early, or later in the mid game, because they have the option of choosing like to let that thing stay, or they KO it, right, with the stage or the Rob Lucci. But that what that means is that you're changing their original strategy to like, okay, I wanted to play this, but because that thing's there, it's just going to 2k power. If I leave it there, it's going to counter something, and he'll just discard a card off his hand. Or I have to switch my whole turn setup again to kill that card.
Yeah, and kind of like circling back to our matchup, like you did not need to see Baccarat. Like you were
Oh yeah, I
just
didn't even need to see it.
you
Like, I mean, it
like
would have been nice. I would
people
have loved to play it,
people
but I didn't find
like
it.
they're so used to like lists that have X amount of this or that. I'm just like, man, like you say you were worried about regional, dude. You don't know, you don't understand how bad I was being manhandled in those matches. Like the last match I won, I got lucky. So definitely, what you building, I like it so much.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? Like people have to try it. Like it like on paper, every deck build, right? Look, everything looks good on paper, but does it actually work, right? It on paper it does look it looks sketchy because there's so many non counters. But then I mean, in like the small time we played, like you saw it. I mean, when people watch it, they're gonna see it in action. If you cut off like that one specific part of the video and just showcase like a matchup, they'll see like, oh wow, huh. Even with all those dead cards, he still like somehow did work with it.
Yeah, like on paper, 3 life seems so bad.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. That's why no one plays it because they're afraid of 3 life.
Well, hey, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you
Oh yeah,
so
always
much.
fun.
Eventually you and I will have to get together. We'll have to like, even if it's for this channel itself, like we'll have to make a lot more content together because this has been so much fun, and I think we've done showcase so much in this matchup. I think people, I hope they really understand just how much you're contributing to the community, and I'm so thankful. I'm gonna get some sleep
Oh yeah,
before
thank you,
my
thank you.
tournament in like
Oh
four
yeah, of course.
hours.
Yeah,
But
good luck, good luck.
this has been great, and thank you so much.
Oh yeah,
And then
oh yeah, no. Just to everyone else, just try out a new deck build, test it out, but do it based off of what you know of the meta, and never be afraid to try something new. I mean, that's basically what locals are for. So just try something new. Maybe it will work. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? And if it doesn't work, go back to what you're using. No big deal, right?
sounds great. Well, I hope you have a great night. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for more content.